Yeah, so I definitely did not want to be sick flying here or getting here or anything like that. So mostly staying indoors as much as possible, staying away from people. The outbreak wasn't nearly as severe when I left, luckily, and we only had, I think, one case where I'm from, and that was just before I left. So luckily it was not a huge threat to me at the time. And we didn't have to take quite as many precautions because we didn't know kind of how things were progressing yet. Going home is going to be a different story. It's spread quite a bit while I've been gone, so I'm going to be totally quarantined, obviously, when I get back from travel. And the state that I live in is also on a mandatory quarantine for everybody right now. So it's going to be very limited interaction with anybody, masks and gloves when you're out. And no unnecessary travel at all. Yes, absolutely. He was polite, very professional. We had been communicating several days prior, so I knew who he was and he knew who I was. He found me quickly, easily. He had gloves on, mask on, everything was clean. And he explained to me, that we were taking precautions and everything that was going to be clean and safe. So yeah, absolutely, he did a great job. I wasn't thrilled about it, to be totally honest. I just wanted to get in and get out and get the treatment done. But I understood, I didn't want to put somebody at risk unnecessarily either. And the Tabula was gracious enough to put me up in an Airbnb because it was very unforeseen and they didn't know that this whole process was going to have to happen. So that was very gracious, and it was a great experience overall. I have no complaints whatsoever, and we were able to still get the treatment done as planned, even though it put them a little bit off schedule. Quarantine experience was actually great. It was my first time in Portugal, and it's a beautiful country. I was in a small town called Évora, about 45 minutes away from Tabula. The accommodations were better than I thought they were going to be. It was a 2-bedroom Airbnb apartment, so it was a lot more room than a hotel. I was going to be stuck there for 2 weeks. So there's plenty of space. I had a full kitchen, which was awesome because I got to at least go to the grocery store and then cook all my food. It did have a big flat screen TV and had high-speed internet, so I was able to keep up with schoolwork while I was there, and I was able to video chat with a lot of my friends and my family the whole time. People were really great about talking to me and keeping updated with how things were going, so that helped pass the time quickly. The town of Évora was beautiful. I got to walk around. Everything was closed and there weren't many people out, but I at least got to walk around and see the sights a little bit. And honestly, the whole 2 weeks was a great experience. Yeah, so luckily everything was pretty shut down and people were staying isolated, so that made it fairly easy. I didn't interact with many people at all, really, just at the grocery store pretty much. And then, we had masks, we had gloves, and I was washing my hands with hand gel before I went in, after I came out, and cleaning, the grocery handles and things and everything. So that was the main thing I did, just make sure I was constantly keeping my hands clean, not touching my face or using my phone, and just staying clean and staying away from people, which was easy to do. Yes, I do feel quarantine was a wise decision. The nurse, the cardiac nurse here that treated me was a fantastic guy, but he's older, and he said he also had asthma, so that puts him in a very high-risk category for COVID, and I wouldn't want to put him or anybody else at risk unnecessarily. So as we've learned more about COVID and how it's progressing around the world, it's becoming a big issue, and it's a very large issue now at home where I live, even though it wasn't when I left. So I definitely think it was a wise decision to quarantine. and I kept everybody safe. Yes, my time in isolation I think definitely helped. I was nervous for this whole experience because I didn't know if it was going to be what I was looking for. And I had a little bit of a cardiac condition. It was a mild one, but something that we knew about going in that was just going to have to be medically monitored, and I kept on. So I was nervous coming into it for that reason, but the time in quarantine gave me some time to think and kind of be with myself and do some meditation and prepare for the experience, which I think was beneficial. And I would recommend anybody, whether you're quarantining or not in the future, that comes here, takes time before the experience to prepare for it. I think that people will get a lot more out of it that way. Absolutely. That was, safety was their number one concern, both in regards to COVID and with me as a patient here, which was why I chose this place to come and why it was recommended to me. So yes, absolutely. They kept everything very, very clean. They cleaned daily and sanitized things. We all maintained some amount of social distancing. And like I said, they were gracious enough to put me up in the Airbnb because it was a little bit of an unforeseen situation that we were having to deal with. So that made the entire experience much better than I think it would have otherwise. And I can't wait to send some friends here. So worth it. Easily the best decision I've ever made in my life. It was a very long process. It took several months for me seeing doctors at home to convince them to help me with some of the testing that I needed to get done prior, because they wanted to do some a little more testing that was a little more extensive on me to make sure that my heart could take it and I was in good condition for the treatment. And the results were better than I ever could have hoped. The treatment was more amazing than I ever would have imagined. I've got several friends that I can't wait to recommend to come here when I get back home, and it was a great decision.